you had to hire, like, what would have been your first hire and probably the second and third hire?
See, two people that I would hire is someone who understands content.
You said your first set of clients came through references, right? What was?
Yes. So long story short, we took the plunge after just 4 or 5 years, but then
Hello everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Unwrapping Marketing, one piece at a time. Today we have Karan, a digital marketing, I would say, maestro, and I was just and I have had a lot of interactions with him, and he's definitely a maestro. Any problem that you give him, he'll try to solve through digital transformation. He's the founder and CEO of SoluteLabs. Helping businesses bring their ideas to life. It's a services business. He is based in Gujarat, headquartered in Gujarat. Karan, thanks for joining us.
thanks,
I'm
Karthik.
very excited to having you on this episode. We've been talking about this podcast for a while. I know I've been asking you for a starting this podcast for I don't know, I don't even remember, like probably 2 years.
Probably
Um,
2 years, yeah.
Probably 2 years, right? So I would love to hear about a brief intro about yourself. How did you start your journey? What are you? Another engineer
Yeah.
turned entrepreneur. So interesting journey there. Yeah, over to you, Karan.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me over, Karthik, as well. So let me give you a brief introduction about myself and then what I do at SoluteLabs. So I, as you rightly mentioned, I am an engineer and entrepreneur. I started my career with the large IT companies, TCS, and then moved on to a couple of cities. I stayed in Cambodia for a year, and then I came back to India, and then I was just trying to figure out what to do next. It was more of a career break for me. I was actually even thinking of probably venturing into my father's business. So we still have a family business. He's into specialty chemicals, and my mom also has her own business. So it's like everyone in my family is doing something of their something on their own, right? And but it had never occurred to me, to be very honest, that I always wanted that I should have something of my own. The IT industry, right? It's like if you want to achieve financial freedom, entrepreneurship is not the only way out of it, right? There are many people I know who have moved to states or who have acquired like very very high paying jobs at very high good places. So like it was possible to do all of that. I knew it was possible. So but then I met my friend whom I, at that point in time, I had known for more than 7 years, and close to 7 and 9, so like 16 years now. And we were essentially classmates, and we thought, over some dinner, we were just chit chatting about what to do next. I actually had a business idea in mind. Apart from my father's business, I have thought of venturing into creating bamboo products and selling them online. There was one business very different offbeat from right now there are bamboo products out there and there are a lot of companies, but back in 2014 there were almost none. And then I also thought of creating my own edtech company at that time. There was no Byju's then. But then I wanted to create something around assisted learning, not replacing teachers, but augmented learning and all of that. So all said and done, my partner, said, I'm doing this and I'd love to do it with you. So, I thought, so this is my first stint at, entrepreneurship. And I would rather do it with someone and fail, and rather than, going back to my father's place where it was, like I just thought, like, let me do it something on my own. So that is where the genesis came in. Um, and yeah, so it has been 9 years. One of the most, you know, different thing that we did is like I did not have any experience in creating the kind of products that we were going to service at SoluteLabs. So my entire experience was working with only large enterprises. So I came in with a very different mindset. Even the companies that I worked with were very large, TCS and the other Canadian company that I worked with. I was deployed, on site where I worked with a lot of senior folks only, whereas it was, uh, a total cultural shock for me to work with people who were, much more less experienced than me, and then who were essentially sort of reliant on me, where I had to tell and guide people on things that I myself was, to be very honest, like in the beginning, not very experienced with, right? Because enterprise companies and enterprise clients come in with a very different mindset than startup clients, right? And this is what I have learned across the years, that even today when we take in a project, the way we treat an enterprise client cannot be the same the way we treat a startup client. A startup client demands agility. They demand that, even if there are one or two few bugs, it's okay, but I want to go fast. I want to go to market faster. And enterprises usually want to move a little slow. And when I say slow, I think the right word should be cautious,
Hmm.
right? So they want to make sure that nothing breaks, because they have a lot more at stake. So right now, I think still the lines are blurring in a way where you still have, a lot of enterprises behaving as startups, and the other way around as well. But yeah, even if you know all of these things, to actually implement the same in a real environment where where you're inside the box, kind of still was very different. So I had to
Yeah.
take a step back, unlearn a lot of things. I could not implement the same policies that I
Hmm.
knew and worked at TCS would not work at my own company. So a lot of things backfired initially. So it was quite a learning experience. uh,
Nice.
but yeah.
So, so I just wanted to first question that I had in mind. Right, as an entrepreneur, you what 9 years experience into building a business, right?
Yeah.
One thing that you will go back and change.
One thing that I'll go back and change is to invest in sales and marketing on day one, uh, for sure. So
And
I started off, like not knowing what sales and marketing is. And for the first 5 years, or close to 5 years, we didn't have any sales or marketing team, not even a single guy. There was a time when we reached more than 30, 40 people. And
Mhm.
we ran it in a way wherein half of the team would be led by me and half of the team would be led by my partner, but then all of them were just either devs or business analysts or QAs or designers, or everything just related to production, nothing doing with uh, sales and marketing. And the only thing that kept us going was referral business. So we tried to please the client. We tried to over deliver, and that is what gave us a lot of clients in the initial phase. And that's a possibly a good way of going about things, wherein you try to over deliver, but you shouldn't always bank on referral work forever, right? And if you want to build a sustainable business, I'm sure this can't work, right? So it's only when I crossed my fifth year, and close to just a year before I met you, is when I really thought I should invest in sales and marketing. So it was just around that time. So the first sales guy who is still working with us, um, just completed his 4 years with us 2 months back. No, 2 weeks, 1 week back. So he just, I remember he, like, yeah, joined on 14th of Jan. just after Uttarayan year. So yeah, he'll complete 4 years right now, and he's the first hire. And my company is 9 years old. So in the span of 9 years, for the first 5 years, there's no sales guy. I had one marketing person who joined like a year before the sales guy, but still, there's just one person, one junior who's reporting directly to me, nothing going for. So, um, yeah, definitely investing in sales and marketing. What I truly believe is that, uh, and I read this book by Rand Fishkin. He's also a great marketer. I'm sure you know him, right? So he has
Yeah.
written a book called Lost and Founder. And one thing that really struck me, what he said in the book is the founder's strengths become the company's strengths, and the founder's weaknesses usually become the company's weaknesses. If you are someone who is, hell bent on deadlines, the whole company operates in a way. If you are hell bent on chasing profitability, the whole company will. And it's not just the smaller companies. Look at even the larger companies out there. Look at how Amazon still, in a way, will relate. You'll kind of it. You can relate it to Jeff Bezos' personality. He's very sharp. He's smart, but at the same time, there's a little bit of shrewdness, right? And which you see in how Amazon deals with its partners. Amazon will try to rip off its partners. They do all sorts of things legal, but still, you would know it's in the gray area, right? Right from how they treat their workers to everything, right? So, like, and even the large companies, look at how Ratan Tata is, right? Like, so the Tata Group embodies what Ratan Tata is, right? And similarly, almost all the country, and that is why I believe, like, that was one of the reasons that his successor did not go as planned, right? Because
Hmm.
his original succession plan involved someone who could not identify his ethos as a founder. And he knew, I think, in his heart of hearts that sooner or later, if a new ethos comes, that ethos will percolate into every Tata company, yeah, that is out there. So that is why he then chose someone who is not in the family to lead, the Tata group. So, like, and I'm sure it must be happening with you also, right? Like your strengths, like you are good at sales and marketing, right? So the company that you have will always be good at sales and
You said
marketing, right?
your first sales hire was what for 4 years back, right? After five
Yeah.
years of business, so I have close to 10 people in marketing. This is my first year of business, right? So, so you're absolutely right. So I'm a social media person, email marketer. I have
Right,
a growth marketer full time. Then I have a bunch of like I have a VP of content. My first hire, in fact, was VP of content, not anybody,
right,
right? So yeah, of course, I have a bunch of like five, six full timers and probably about seven, eight freelancers as well in marketing.
right.
Yeah, so that's absolutely right. So yeah, so just a follow up question on that. So you going back, right? You said you would have invested in, let's say sales and marketing, right? So if you had to hire, like, what would have been your first hire and probably the second and third hire, when it comes to marketing for anybody who's starting out, either in a services or a product business? Who should they hire first? Of course, it depends on the situation, but in general,
Right.
if you have to generalize, who should they hire first?
Especially in product businesses and in, IT service businesses, I firmly believe that, we should hire for inbound first and then outbound. Uh, and to be very honest, I even tell this to my teams, right? What is sales? Sales is actually the failure of marketing. It is that you could not get enough people, uh, you could not reach out to enough people. You could not, and whether it's paid or not, it's a different thing, right? But you could not reach out to the right target audience so that they could, come from the top and bottom and, the whole funnel. And that is why there's another team that you'll have to set up so that they do then outreach to clients who ideally, so, like, you can talk to anyone in the industry and you will know that an inbound inquiry will convert 10 times. The possibility of it converting will be almost 10 times compared to an outbound inquiry. Look at the number of emails that you would have to send, the amount of people who will say, F off in their emails, especially, people in the, European
Yes.
regions. And, people have to go through all of that, right? Versus same company, same region, right? And if they find you, they'll come to you, they'll schedule a meeting, they'll want to talk with you. If you have built something relevant, if you have the right, fit for, if you are a right fit for the services, then you'll probably able to, sell them probably even at a better rate. Because well, if you are doing an outbound, then, you are just, it's, you could be in competition with 10, 20 different companies, right? So, uh, but yeah, so coming back to your question, the first, two people that I would hire is someone who understands content. And if they do a little bit of copywriting, then that's best. Then would someone be like a technical SEO guy, and then you like, I believe good design, matters a lot. So, and we are essentially also undergoing our own revamp right now. Hopefully, the next 1 or 2 months will be coming out with our new website as well. And that is one of the reasons I also came to Chennai to record all those client interviews.
You said your first set of clients came through references, right? What was
Yes.
How did you sustain with just references for like 5 years? Did you get enough references, or is there
Yeah.
a like a mechanism you use to get more referrals, right? And like I said, at what point, like what was that point that you realized that you had to build a like a marketing and sales function, right? And when did that
Okay.
happen? When did that realization happen?
So, without reference, also, okay, so for the first 2 years, we sort of, we were just breaking even. We were not like turning in a huge profit, or I wouldn't say much profit at all, right? And that is when, I reached out to a mentor, and on LinkedIn, I just, messaged someone, and then, he was local, he was in Ahmedabad. He had more than 25 years of experience working with large companies. And he thought, we were his first mentee, to be honest, and he just mentored us, even for free at that time, right? So, talking with him gave us a lot of insight into how the industry really functions, how an IT company really functions. When we started SoluteLabs, to be honest, I and my partner, we just had close to 4.5 years of experience, or less than 5 years is what I will say. And that's not enough time to really understand. And, you know, and on the other side, I always have people have this question: when do you really start? Like, if you start too soon, where is it always too? It will never be too. You'll never be truly ready, right? Because firstly, you will feel, okay, I need to have at least some managerial experience. Then you will feel I need to go to some position, and then you will be locked in golden handcuffs. So it's people just. So then, yeah. So long story short, we took the plunge after just 4 or 5 years, but then we met our mentor. He told us, a few changes. We did that, and still, okay, I think you can call it combination of luck, but we tried to over deliver every single time, and
Hmm.
we had it's just our network of people that we had met, and none of these companies that we worked with actually even worked with us, or even my parents or my partner's parents or something of that sort. Nothing ever came in through a network of, you know
Hmm.
like, you just refer someone and
Friends.
go and build this with them. So,
Yeah.
the one of the first projects that we got was through a friend's friend of mine who had heard that I had started something. He said, "Go and check this guy," and then he turned out to be from Deloitte. He had just quit his job, and the product that we built from him for him, which was the first independent project that we got, ended up being sold to Tata 1MG, and then Tata 1MG became our customer. So that was one of our first successes, and then from there on, he kept on referring us to multiple people, and those people referred us to multiple people. So, you can call it luck, but in the end, we also put our, all the effort in making sure that first initial set of customers, you have to really, you know, hammer the nail so that it gets the work done. And
And
yeah, so
so how was that
sorry.
after 5 years, right? You kind of spoke to a mentor and then realized what needs to be done. But at what
Yeah,
point in 5 year time frame that you said, "Oh, okay, enough is enough, right? I want to grow now. I want to invest more in sales marketing, right?" Why that realization happened? Like what after 4 years, 5 years? How
yeah.
did that happen?
So, after 5 years, yeah. So as I mentioned, right, close to 5 years, we had now another mentor in place, and he was, mentoring us a lot more closely. And this was, so he's still our mentor right now. So we go to him from time to time, uh, not as frequent as before, but we still, take his mentorship. So, think about it, and, told us, just open your eyes and see how the world is functioning. This is not how you'll be able to scale the company. And there are certain decisions where I've taken, from my gut, essentially, right? So I knew what he was saying is right? And, I just overnight took a decision that, in fact, what happened is when I took the decision, um, one of the bad things that companies have is your lot of revenue depends on one or two core clients, right? In
Mm,
tech services, it happens, right? Especially when you are smaller. And there was this client who, was having close to 40% plus chunk of our revenue, close to 40, more than 40% of our
mm,
revenue coming from one client. And I was the one who was managing that client and was making sure that the product is well, and even played the role of a product manager and stuff like that on the same client. And when I decided to move into a sales and marketing role, and there was a huge pushback, and he actually left in less than 3 months time, right? And because
the
he wanted to work
client.
with me. Yeah, the
You mean
client
the
left in
client?
3 months. Yeah. And I knew this was going to happen because we had such a good rapport. And overnight, if I just put in someone else, then it just doesn't work well, right? So I still knowing that I took that risk, and that risk actually paid off because you know when he left, all the team members who just got unallocated from that project, we got coincidentally we worked with the company that we are still working with right now, just came in then, and this is 4 years plus back, right? We worked with a company. We are still working with a company called Synergy. They are the world's third largest ship management company, and we essentially are help them in their digital transformation journey. So, we did not have to hire from outside. We took the same team, put it on a much better project and a much better payout, and eventually a lot of things fell into place. And from there, I, you know, uh, you know, kind of considered it as an omen, right? And then I said, okay, let me pursue this journey. Let me first, and coming back to this Rand Fishkin's comment, right? So I thought the first thing I'll do is I'll try to improve myself, and then I'll build a team. And obviously, you will try to build a team, and you will want to have people with more expertise than you. But I cannot be like a complete zero in sales and marketing. So then I just started upskilling myself, did a lot of courses, online courses on Coursera, Udacity, things of that sort. And I was always interested in marketing, and then that actually helped us again, even in sales, my sales, right? So we have a lot of B2C clients as well. So while building products, we kind of build their attitude, and we build their capability to build B2C products, right? Because if you are just building enterprise products, which are being used only by a certain number of people within the organization, the way that functions is very different from a lot of things that you need to take care in B2C, like things like technical SEO to the same things that I would do for my own website, like right from technical SEO to page speed to all the meta tags and everything. And the same thing I would then translate into the client's requirement. So the clients would come assured that the products that we would build for them would function well even from a marketing perspective and not just development.
Got it. Okay. So you are saying that you kind of, because of the advantage of learning marketing, that you built, you started building a product which also,
Yeah,
relatively, customer oriented, understand from a marketing perspective, right, for clients. Wonderful.
right.
So,
Because people
okay.
essentially want to market their products in the end, right? So how do
Yeah,
you make all of that happen?
got it. Okay. So, as I mean, as a CEO of Salute Labs, right? What aspects of your role you find it most fulfilling?
I guess hiring and training people is something that I initially detested, but then I am now finding it kind of the most fulfilling role. I like sometimes I work with the assumption that few people are going to stay between less than 3 years. A good chunk of people will be staying between 3 and 5 and 6 years. And some few exceptional people, there's still people who have worked with us
Mm.
for more than 6 plus years, right? And, you know, instead of, so when I started the company, if people would, resign or something like that, I would, you know, treat it as like, why would they do this to me, right? I've given them everything possible, right? From training them to, giving them, maybe say market standard salaries or sometimes even higher, and still they are leaving, right? And then, kind of understood the fact that, my job is to make sure that the journey with me is something that we both enjoy. And, when they go to some other company or something of that sort, they should be able to feel that, there was a difference here. You know, that we genuinely cared for them and things of that sort. So, yeah, that kind of right
Hiring,
now helps me. Yeah,
hiring and
job
training,
fulfillment.
right?
Yeah, instead
Hiring.
of looking at it like something that you have to do just because you run a company, I think all IT companies, in a way, all service-based companies, in a way, are sort of training institutes. Like in a way, the people that you work with, like at 5 years down the line, how many of them are going to stay. And I mean, it's just utopia that earlier people would stay on a particular company for their entire careers, right? 40 years. And we know, and we ourselves have not been, in the same job for more than 3, 4 years, then, that that is not going to be the same for the people that work with you, right? So instead of looking at it from a lens of, like, don't go away because I gave you the break, or something of that sort, right? I would rather look at it positively. Okay. If you're here, do your best. I'll also train you. But if you part, then it's okay. Like, do your best. Refer someone, something like
Yeah, I think I also started enjoying hiring and training at some point. But the same
that.
problem is that when somebody leaves in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 5 weeks or like a couple
Yeah,
of
that's
months, right?
painful.
Then you get very frustrated, right? So, and it's a typical problem that I thought, okay, you can solve this problem, but I don't think you can solve
Yeah,
that problem, right?
yeah,
You have
it's
done that
not
for 9 years.
solvable.
I'm just like 1 year into this, right? And I still see that I don't even know who to hire. And sometimes you hire the right talent, and
Right.
sometimes you kind of not you think that they're the right talent, but then they kind of leave you in a very very short time.
True. And
Um,
I think it's even more difficult with the kind of roles in sales and marketing, right? With developers and all, we can actually test their skills much, like it's much concrete, right? It's like binary, one and zero. Either you can write this program or not. Either you
yeah,
can solve this program or not, right? And that is not the case with content, right? So, for example, you know, maybe the content they have written in the past, performed well, but somehow it's not working here, or and there are a lot of small things that make the marketing right, or say make sales right, right? Like, just look at sales. Like, you need to have your domain warm up. You need to have written addresses. You need to have market DKM and SPF and then you need to have right amount of emails. And despite all of this, the people that you target, like what if 10% of them decide to just report you as spam? Like everything you do right can still lead to, just, going in drain. And
Yeah.
or it might be the other way, people write very shitty emails and still get responses from clients. And it's just like
Yeah, I've seen that. I've written shitty emails that got responses. Yeah, yeah. So I know that. I've hired a girl, senior marketer, and second call, a third call, I realized that it was a bad hire. And interview
okay.
she did pretty well, and in the second call, no, she was asking what is ICP, right? And I said shit. When we started working, what about
Yeah.
three years back, the first thing that I remember that we discussing is, Karan, can you document your ICP? Right? We sat together,
Yes.
wrote
Yes.
wrote like, process, like, sheet by sheet on, how, what the ICP should look like, who are they, right? Did
Right.
research about like how their profile should look like, what is their job roles and responsibilities, right? We literally, sat and wrote. And for 3 years
Right.
down the line, I hired a person who doesn't even know what an ICP means, right? Then I had to literally say, boss, please. I mean, and not because of that, and it's also because that she, somebody who came on board, she had a plan, and I already have a plan. So I wanted somebody to execute, but people come up with their own thought process, right? Like they don't understand what's the
Right.
need, and like right now, what is the need? They kind of have their own preset notion of what, based on their past experiences, they think that the same strategy works in different companies, right? So that's another
True,
problem with
true.
typically a sales or a marketing hire. Um,
Hmm.
so what is your current challenges when it comes to, getting onboarding new clients? Or I know services businesses are very, very commoditized business, and there are like thousands and thousands of companies in services, right? And I think
Right.
after this, before this, I'm pretty sure the next 100 years we'll still see services business, multiple companies coming up, small companies, medium sized companies. That's not
Right.
going to change, right? But again, it's become much more commoditized, right? There is a lot of price points. There is a lot of especially when it comes to T&M, right? Like you have to
Right.
really fight for the Harley rates, right?
Right.
How do you, in the current situation, especially when it comes to services business, what are
True.
your challenges and how are you overcoming those challenges? And how difficult it is to get a client, especially on an inbound? I'm also asking this, it's a combination, it's a multiple question, right? And how
Right.
difficult it is to, get a client and who's going to pay you like $50,000 or $100,000, or maybe doesn't matter, even 20, $30,000, right? Uh, Especially when it's an inbound inquiry. And what are the challenges you're facing when it comes to running a services business?
Right. So we have two, I would say three different kind of clientele, right? And the challenges for almost all of them are very different. And so if you take an inbound inquiry, for example, even with inbound inquiries, there are people and there are startups who already have their own setup, and then you want to supply engineers to them, right? So that is one model. This is one model where we don't have a lot of engagement in. So my preference, even since the beginning of when I started SoluteLabs, was always to take on managed projects. Now, whether these are fixed cost or time and material, it's a different thing. But we would like to take control of the narrative. We would like to
Hmm.
take control of the product in general, right? And the thing is, as you are rightly saying, right? Like if you're just going to give a few developers to a few company, then the moat isn't there. The only moat that you would probably could have is that you work with very large enterprises, and because they have customers who have projects which are very long running, the people that you deploy will probably stay there for long time, right? And but again, fighting for price is, as it's going to remain, right? So one of the ways that I'm trying to find better rates is essentially first by building relationships with people, and essentially trying to target people outside India, right?
Mm.
Uh, Whatever you say, the paying capacity of companies in India versus Western countries is always going to be different. In the Indian IT ecosystem has survived only because of I would say wage arbitration is what I will say, right? There you pay someone $150 an hour, and here you pay someone $50 an hour, and you make money out of that, right? That is, and then they sacrifice the you know the option of not having to work with someone all the time. I mean, face to face, or someone sitting, across a different time zone in order to save that money, right? So that is how we have typically grown and survived as a industry so far. But having said that, things are changing. We and the technologies that we work with, right? They are also rapidly changing, so people have to upskill, and we try to deliver best work. So, so one is like since we have started SoluteLabs, I'm trying to juggle between different things, but because there is no one right answer to follow, how to maintain a high rate card, right? But sales and marketing and working on your pitch deck, working on your presentation, working on your website, all of that plays a huge, huge role in conversion of clients. That is what I've known for sure. Like I have had clients, I've worked with enterprise clients, and we have been able to sell or convert them based on the basis of just the pitch decks that we have created. And to working on a pitch deck is a lot of iterative process. I to take into consideration, I have gone ahead and taken actual pitch decks and actual proposals of companies like Accenture and Infosys and HCL and Wipro, and when they pitch to customers, right? I would know someone who would give them, like, it's not they're not a competitor in a sense where I'm pitching for the same client, right? But then I want to understand how they are pitching, what they are pitching, and learn from those things and then try to improve. So that has helped me a lot. uh, just having a very unique pitch deck, will set you apart from like a lot of customers, right? But then, there's a journey to go from 0 to 10, and then 10 to 100. And like if you like after beyond a certain project size, if you want to crack, then essentially it's all built on just relationships, right? Like you can't essentially build like a 1 million annual recurring contract by meeting someone over Zoom. You have to travel, you have to build a relationship, you have to meet them in conferences somewhere or the other. You have to make that happen in order for that, or you need to have like super strong references. But then again, most of it is done through referrals, right? So word of mouth or reference and meeting in person is like will only is what will take you from one step. Like you can crack $100,000 projects, right? But then beyond that, like how much, like I'm talking about annual recurring revenue, right? Or annual revenue. So even the first enterprise projects that we landed on, like we met them in person, and some of them came to our office. Some lot of fraud activities are also happening in India, right? You people take on fixed cost projects. They take 30-40% upfront, and then they just vanish, right? So they don't deliver. They're not interested in actually delivering the entire product itself, right? So some of those people have also spoiled the name of India's IT ecosystem somewhere, right? Like people from, say, someone from US, they'll not have the financial muscle to do a case for, say, maybe $20,000 project for someone in India, right? Like, will they find in West Bengal or somewhere, right? It's just almost impossible, right? Even if you think of finding someone in West Bengal, like the pain that you would have to go to through to go to your police station and make sure that the entire report is filed. It's almost like impossible for you to even imagine that will they able to crack the case or not. So imagine someone who is sitting on the other side of the world. What is the possibility of someone responding to
Yeah, problems for a services business, right? So you take, today also I was talking to a prospect, right? He said, all the agencies that I worked with, they all promised something, then never delivered, right? Then now
that?
it becomes much more difficult for me to convince them. Anybody that I'm talking to, I similarly have a similar question or something like a challenge that I
Right.
face, right? One is, yeah, I've had digital marketing agencies or SEO, companies or performance marketing agencies who has come in and literally produced nothing. And how are you
Yeah.
different, right? Now what can you say? Like the only thing that I say is like trust me, right? Like what is that trust, right? So I mean, of course, the services business is practically people like this, right, who cheat, and people like some agencies who doesn't know what to do, or that they literally
True.
spoil the relationships, and like it'll for a company like us, or who wants to do a good job on, let's say you want to build a great products, right? And probably me, I want to be the best marketing agency across. The major challenges that I face is the same, right? Which is like I've somebody else cheated me, somebody else didn't do well, right? How are you different? Right?
Yeah.
So that we come across quite a bit. So I want to talk about, see, one thing that I really liked about you when we worked together, right? So you documented everything, right? So talk to us a little bit of how important it is to document, and why do you think the need to document the processes that you're doing, right? And I'm pretty sure that you still have that, right? Like habit of
Yeah.
documenting, writing down everything in a Notion or like whatever,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. We still
I
use
remember,
Notion.
what was the tool? Notion, right?
Yes. 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 I used to
Yeah.
still use the same tool. I still, use the documents that we had written when we worked together.
Why do you think documenting is important, and why do you think process is important? And any examples you
So,
can give me, because of, let's say, you documented something very well or processes something very well, that it becomes easy, right? I'm asking this because as a founder, especially when it comes to services business, I think the SOPs, the documentations, the processes become much more important, because for transferring knowledge from let's say one person to the other person, or one department to the other person, right? It becomes very
hmm,
very important to document. And even in a, I mean, I mean, it's product company, services company, it doesn't matter. But it becomes much more important in a services company comparatively, like in a product company, to document everything that we do, right? And
right.
and talk to me a little bit of, why is it important, and how has it helped you over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of, especially the process, processing process documents and stuff like that, right? Thanks everyone for watching this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, and please subscribe. Thank you.